All right, let's take out the potatoes, put the onions in there. We're going to do those for a few minutes. And then once those are brown, we're going to add the chili paste, some more curry leaves, and then we're going to saute continually to cook till you see the spice darkens in color and the water evaporates. So another 3 or 4 minutes. Okay. How many more curry leaves is it? 6 to 8, roughly torn. Okay. All right, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, yeah, there's 6. 2 more. All right. That should be good. All right, let's set aside our potatoes here. Can't wait to smell what this is going to smell like when the, oh yeah, those are starting to brown up. When the chicken goes in, it's going to be an awesome smell. I did it for the smells and the spicy. Try and keep some of that onion, or some of that oil in the pan. So, as thick as this pot is, it looks like it still has, over time, buckled upward a little bit in the center. Either that or that's the way it was made. Give these a little stir around in here. These should brown pretty quickly. I'll be surprised if it takes 3 to 5 minutes for these to brown like the recipe said. Oh, those smell good. Nothing like some greasy onions. A whole line of anniversary Pyrex, huh? Let's see if we can get an angle on the pot better. Nope. Doesn't want to. That's okay, you got a long post. I just won't be able to read it all the time. That's cool, they've got a whole line of stuff. I think Pyrex is one of those great companies. Been around forever. How old was that picture that you posted for the competition? It reminds me of recently Yosemite National Park posted a piece about John Muir, who is a really famous American naturalist. He lived in the Yosemite Valley, what would later become Yosemite National Park. For years he lived there, and he would go off on these hikes in Yosemite Valley and climb up these rock faces that you wouldn't expect somebody to climb up on. And he would just take a simple little rucksack with a really basic meal and tea that he would drink out of this little, it was kind of a distinctly shaped cup. And they still have that cup. I think they were just transferring it to the Smithsonian Institution. And I think that's why it was in the news. And it was just really cool to see photos of John Muir, who, for me as a backpacker, he's like one of those big iconic characters. It's kind of cool to see his little tin cup where he had etched his name, still around 100 years later. Well, our onions are coming along nicely here. Bing, 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 bing. Slickerdoodle, where did you say you're from? Are you in the States? Gonna have to clean the floor after tonight. I ended up getting potato peels, missing the garbage can with the potato peels. All right, so once we've got that onion up to temperature, oh, she said remaining oil. How much oil was that? 1/3 of a cup. Let's do that then. There's our measuring cup. 1/3 of a cup of oil. For those of you that are new to the channel, one of the things that I've come across recently is that if you're measuring liquids, you should measure them in a Pyrex, like Slickerdoodle was talking about, rather than measuring them with your, what these would be called dry measuring cups. And I think it has to do with the fact that like these measuring cups tend to have like a certain size, you know, from top to bottom, whereas a measuring cup like this has a kind of a conical shape. And the people that created the recipes did it with like the Pyrex. And so if you're someone who, you know, is following a recipe follower like me, and you want to get the proportions just right, you would want to use your liquid measuring cup for measuring liquids and not use your dry measuring cups for that. Sounds a little like tedious, I know, but you know, the people that wrote the recipe, they've ostensibly spent some time like refining the recipe to get it just right. And then inevitably, you know, you're probably going to have like slightly different tastes once you've made it once. You know, you're like, oh, okay, I see where they're going with that, but I'd rather have a little more oil or something like that. But for me, making this recipe the first time out, I'm gonna follow her instructions and see where they get me. In part because unlike Slickerdoodle and some of the other more experienced people, I forget who was talking about that earlier, if it was the Punkist or somebody else. I'm not really good at just kind of eyeballing things and saying like, oh, that's probably enough salt or something like that. Because my idea of what a pinch of salt is probably not even close to accurate. All right, so I think our onions are done. Once the onions have browned, add the reserved spice paste and the torn curry leaves. So we've got these. Let's put those in there. And then we're going to add our spice paste, and this is when it's going to start smelling really awesome. That's right. Never gonna get it, never gonna get it. Do you remember In Vogue? Funky Divas from the 90s. That's right. That was one of my favorite R&B albums of the 90s. North of the Tri-Cities in Washington State. Huh. I didn't know that Washington State had Tri-Cities. Is that like Seattle, Tacoma, and some third city? I don't know. Let's see. There's just no way I can angle that to come into focus, is there? I kind of wonder if this... Let me see if the Find My Face feature of the 920 is turned on this one, and if that's why it's doing that, where it's constantly refocusing. All right, I think this is supposed to be on medium high. Let's double check that. Stir around on, oh no, low heat, low heat. We're going to do a low heat and saute it So we're going to wait for that paste to darken. Okay, and we want the water to evaporate, so we're not going to cover it. So the paste is darkening. We're going to need to, oh wow, it's starting to smell good. I can smell those cloves. You know, I thought the cloves were an unexpected thing to have in there, but I can smell the cloves. I cannot smell the coconut, not surprisingly. So then we're going to put the chicken in there, turn up to medium-high, and let the chicken brown. After 2 minutes, flip the chicken pieces and let brown on the other side. If you see that the heat is getting too high, reduce it. You'll also see a lot of liquid in the pot, but that's okay. Once the chicken is brown, reduce the heat to low, cover the pot, and let cook for about 10 minutes on low. And then, when do we put the potatoes back in? Once the chicken is about 90%, add the potatoes back to the pot. I don't know that our potatoes are that well done. I'm going to do a little push test here. Yeah. So, you know, when your fork goes in and it meets kind of a sticky resistance, I don't know how to describe that. But these guys were not quite as done as I think she was calling for them to be. And I even gave them twice the amount of time that she said. But, you know, maybe her stovetop cooks a little hotter than mine does. I have an electric stovetop, and it definitely has its pitfalls. Gas stovetops have a lot more control over, you know, just how big a flame you're cooking with. Oh, southeastern Washington State. Okay. Oh, nuclear reactor right outside, huh? That's where they built a bomb that they dropped on Hiroshima, huh? I'm not that far from Rocky Flats, which is the site of the old Rocky Flats nuclear arsenal, which is where they built the plutonium triggers for nuclear warheads back in the, well, starting in the 60s through, I think it was 1994 when they finally shut down the Rocky Flats nuclear arsenal. All right, I think I'm trying to spread this back out, but I think our chicken is ready to go in here. I don't know if Lepunkist is still around. I think he's a little more experienced with Indian food. I don't know if you think that paste looks dark enough. It looks pretty dark to me. Get this out of here so I can put my raw chicken stuff right in there. And I'm just trying to keep some of that marinade with it. So all this spicy, savory goodness doesn't go to waste here. Maybe I'll put some more on top too. Nice messy dish, for sure. Just want to recycle my chicken container there. All right, so surely she did want us to turn the temperature back up, right? Turn the heat to medium-high and let the chicken brown. All right. I'm going to see if that Find My Face feature is turned on so I can